Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Ken at Tortoise Capital. This is the very first session of a brand new workshop, which is living on the edge of happening. It is a workshop that comes into being as we do it, and so in that way, it may end up being unlike any other workshop we ever do. It will certainly be the only time that we do it exactly this way, which is a comforting thing. In the many months of building up towards this course, I have been making a point of saying that we were not going to record the true storytelling portions of the workshop, because one of the things that happens in a true storytelling circle is safety, trust, truth, and opportunity. So, safety is the precondition for any collaboration to really unfold. That before we get to an opportunity, let's start with the back end and move to the front. I want to develop an opportunity with you guys, and so before I can fully commit to that, I have to have some sense of what the truth of the situation is. What is our purpose? Who are we? What are we trying to do? What is it built on? So before I can fully embrace and pursue an opportunity, I must first have truth about that opportunity. And if we're going to work together and we are going to claim that we're telling the truth or sharing the truth or leveraging the truth, we're going to make that claim, then I first must have trust. I have to have trust that what you're saying is true, that what I'm saying is true, and you have to trust that what I'm saying is true. Then and only then can we proceed into the truth to explore what is there and then see what opportunities emerge from that. So, trust is a precondition for truth. Now, why is that the case? It seems to be the case that, much like an onion, we enter the world naive, innocent, and then the world quickly teaches us that unvarnished truth can be a dangerous thing, that there are a lot of things out there that want to eat us. And so we learn to defend ourselves, and we learn to protect against untruth and danger. And we learn that there are different categories of people and opportunities and organizations that are more or less trustworthy. And so we learn to be guarded. The Chinese would call this thick face, black heart, in which thick face represents these layers of personas that we show to the world that allow us to engage in the world in order to achieve the objectives that we have, but it's never our true face to the world, because that revealing that true face could be dangerous. And so thick face is these layers of personas. Well, this resonates really strongly with a lot of different models of personal psychology from the West. This multi-layered reality, multi-layered identities, which can be more or less, conscious and intentional, some of which are unconscious, some of which we feel as natural, but may have been learned behaviors that we forgot the lesson of how we learned that. We just think that's the natural way to be because we don't have the self-reflection to investigate the source of our beliefs and our perspectives. So this nature of trust is closely related to truth. And it seems like trust is a thing that we learn to earn. or that we have to have effortful action to learn about. Well, why do I trust? And how much should I trust? In many ways, the act of trading is that I have a certain belief in a hypothesis for a trade. I think it could do this because of reasons, evidence or a theory or expertise. All of those things give me some kind of provisional truth. When we think something is true, we think that it is enduring and will continue and acts the way that it should act, and that we can trust the world to continue to act in that way, which then encourages us to take certain measured risks because we trust that the world is not necessarily out to get us or to get me in general, but it just behaves the way that it behaves because of the laws of the universe or whatever. And so that we can learn about the world, and then we can discover how it works, and then we can take actions that give us advantage. And so we trust in our judgment. But life has taught us that complete trust in the truthfulness of everybody else is not necessarily a successful thing. Flim-flam artists, false gurus, outright liars and deceivers, evil persuaders. The world is filled with people that tell less than the full truth or outright lie to their advantage and exploit other people. So we've learned to build these defenses. So if I want to get to opportunity, I have this upward path. I got to climb this mountain towards truth, which leads to opportunity. When I get to the top of that thing, I can look around and see, oh, look at all the many things that there are to do and all the different ways that I might proceed from here. But it takes effortful action to rise to the level up there, and you hope that there's not enough. You hope that there's not so many clouds up there that you can't even see. Hey, I climbed this mountain, and all I can see are these clouds. I was told that I would be able to see many things with wisdom. Well, maybe we didn't tell you the whole truth. That sometimes the tops of mountains are cloudy, and that you can't make out all the details of the little creatures living below. That maybe not all of the wisdom of the world is found exclusively at the top of mountains. Maybe there was some truth inside you that you brought with you from wherever you were, and it accompanied you to the top of the mountain. Oh, no. I already got my money's worth today. I never had that thought exactly. I never said that exactly that way before. Well, it turns out that when we tell stories, when we're trying to tell our truth as best we can with the intention that everybody may thrive, sometimes those stories emerge from us in ways that are surprising. Almost always they do. When you're telling a true story, as Tom can attest, it's not a surprise when you are surprised by the story that comes out of you. And it turns out we never tell the same story twice. That there's always something in the creation of the moment and the setting that we're in and who we are at that moment that changes us even as we tell the story. So the phenomenon of true storytelling is to explore what happens when you try to tell the truth as best you can so that the people may thrive. And so to create conditions in which true stories may be told, we consider that phrase safety, trust, truth, and opportunity, so that the opportunity to transform the world is a natural byproduct of an effort to tell the truth about what we know from the point of view that is unique to us inside this universe. So that's the opportunity of truth-telling and true storytelling in a true storytelling circle, which is a special place that we decide to construct on the basis of our agreements. We make agreements to behave in certain ways. And on the basis of those agreements, we learn to trust each other so that our true stories can lead to opportunities. And we learn to trust each other that we're telling the truth. And so the first thing that happens, safety, is the creation of a safe space in which we can begin to learn to trust each other more fully. Which is here's fun, morphing. We learn to trust each other more fully, morphing ourselves into a new life that is based on trust and truth. Sometimes the wordplay leads you into surprising areas, which unlocks certain things. And that's one of the phenomenons of true storytelling, is that as you are searching for the right word, more correctly, as the right words to tell the story are searching for you and trying to find a way out of your head and out of your heart, then you become surprised by the words that come out of your head about the story you are trying so desperately to tell as truthfully as you can. And in that moment of creation, in this mindful moment, a story is released into the world that's never been heard before. Now, if you come from the West and you're accustomed to meetings and brainstorming meetings, as soon as somebody has an idea, the very next thing that happens is everybody pounces on it and begins dissecting it and leveraging it and using it or dismissing it or acting on it or not acting on it or rejecting on it. It is immediately becoming processed. And all that little story wants to do is to just live. It wants to go out into the world and be whatever it's going to be. This little story that was just born has just seen the light of day. So one of the things that we create in a true story circle is safety. And it's safe in at least two different ways. One of the safeties is that the safe space attracts people to want to come there to begin with in order to do whatever we're going to do in that safe circle. So it has an external pull that brings people together that might not otherwise be together. Consider the alternate circumstances which would have to occur for the four of us to have come together for a purpose, except for the true storytelling we're about to do. When we start introducing each other, we're going to realize the probability of the four of us ever coming together is pretty small. So there's something magical about safe spaces that draw people together in surprising ways. But once you're in that safe space, that outward perception of safety, well, I could go in there and I'm not going to get hurt. It's on Zoom. They can't reach through the screen and get me. And they're only going to learn about me what I am going to say about me. So I actually have some control over my own information and my identity and my purpose and my life. So I can venture on a Sunday morning or a Sunday afternoon, depending on where you are, Jack, in the UK. Maybe I can invest a little bit of my time and my identity to enter this safe space that I think is safe. As far as I know it's safe. As far as I can control and perceive, I think it's safe. And I know Ken to a certain degree by what he has revealed about himself, and I've done my due diligence or not. And so I feel like maybe this is a safe enough space in which I can learn to trust a little bit. Once I see what's going on inside that safe space, maybe the external perception of safety is reinforced by the experience of being in the circle, and now I am moving towards a stronger belief in the safety of that place. And maybe I can start revealing some of my true inner nature, start peeling back these thick layers of identity that have accumulated over time that the Chinese call the thick face. Well, the other part of that theory is thick face, black heart. And the Chinese concept of black heart is this notion that inside us there is a true self with a true purpose and intention that we keep in shadows so it cannot be easily detected, so that it cannot be exploited by others. So this thick face, black heart theory comes from thousands of years of Chinese philosophers and leaders and political advisors, expressed in a beautiful form by a scholar, last name Li. How about that? Who was the professor of Mao Zedong. And Professor Li lived from about 1850 to about 1940, and in that period of time in China, in the warlord period, was part of that. You saw the transition from a long-term traditional Chinese dynasty into a warlord period once Western military weapons and ammunition and strategies had been introduced, broke down the old dynasty, replaced by local warlords, power plays. The nationalists under Chiang Kai-shek began to emerge after decades of internal strife. World War I happened. So you have this period of extraordinary political, social, economic, philosophical, cultural turmoil in China. And scholar Li studied the behavior of people in public and described what he saw as thick face, black heart, in which people had learned to hide their true intentions so that they could survive in that world and begin to thrive and pursue whatever their goals and objectives were. So this idea of thick face, black heart is a way to describe that aspect of human nature which hides our truth and only carefully reveals it to trusted others in order to build community and tribal action in the world. The state of nature looks very much, in my view, like thick face, black heart. And so if that is at one end of the spectrum, at the other end of the spectrum is this idea of true storytelling as a way to reverse the learned behavior of hiding the truth and revealing only as much as you must in order to achieve success in the world. So the pathway from thick face, black heart towards true storytelling is one that encompasses safety, trust, truth, and then and only then opportunity. And it becomes an iterative process so that as you invest some of your identity and your time and your thoughtful reflection and your own stories, you begin to reinforce the feelings of safety, if it truly is safe for you, and which promotes the trust in each other, that you can listen to what they're saying as being true, that you can offer your truth without harm, without worrying about harm back to you or causing harm to others. And then truth begins to emerge out of that safety and trust that we've created, and then this collective ecosystem, this little sociological phenomenon of our true story circle, that safety, trust, and truth leads to unfathomable, it's so unfathomable I can't even say the word, countless ways of discovering opportunities that the creative spark, which is there in every moment waiting to catch fire, the creative spark which generates the instantaneous story that surprises us as we're telling it, that creative spark now leads inevitably to the opportunities which may lead to successful results. May not. You know, the world is such a challenging place that not every idea is ready to be exploited right now. Like there's some good ideas that aren't ready to be implemented yet because the groundwork hasn't been in place. And it may be a value creating idea when the conditions are right, but we didn't know that when we had the creative spark. We didn't know that until we were surprised by the story that emerged. So, in a nutshell and sort of in conclusion, true storytelling is one of the central features of this Creativity 202 course, the Fletcher treatment for traders. True storytelling comes from the work of my doctoral mentor, David Boji, who I've been working with for 30 some odd years, and they have been odd years. And it engages our storytelling brain, but it is not just storytelling for the sake of telling a story. It is purposeful as a way to transform the world through the telling of truth. So we're going to experience some of that in the way of design gently this course to unfold. At the other end of this thing is the work of storytelling and creativity science of Professor Angus Fletcher, and I'm going to say something about him after we take a pause to bring the true storytelling piece to a conclusion. So I say all that. It took me 20 minutes to explain why I asked you if we could record this, because the act of recording the session changes the nature of the circle in which we are. If I record this, then the consequences, the potentialities of that are large. You know, I'm revealing maybe something about myself to people that I don't know and haven't vetted and is not inside a safe circle. That could have a chilling effect on what it is that we want to say. Like I may be able to trust you guys enough to say certain things with the agreement that we're not recording this. And it allows me to say something for the first time in a new way in a safe space. And then when I see the consequences, maybe I can feel I can trust a little bit more. So that's why I asked you ahead of time if we could record this, because I think there are reasons why pieces, parts, and maybe all of it could be recorded, should be recorded for the value. Like I'm appreciative and grateful and thankful of your permission to record at least even the first portion of it, because I've never told that story exactly in that way, and there were a couple things I said that I want to go back and listen to later because it surprised me, and I want to explore. I want to listen to that story because I was telling the story, and it's hard to also listen to your own story while you tell your story. You think you are, but there's a lot of things going on in there. And unconscious word choices upon further reflection may be pathways to other sources of interest. And that's what Fletcher's work talks about, is that the telling of stories in a setting generates creative juices that only occur under those conditions. In the world of action research, we call that presentational knowledge, one of the four ways of knowing. We say propositional knowledge is the knowledge of theory and understanding and structure and mental models. Like I've learned that body of knowledge, I've installed that mental model in my head. Presentational knowledge is knowledge that is available to you only because you tried to tell somebody about that knowledge. one of the features of teaching, as every teacher will tell you, as anybody who's ever tried to teach anything, that is, if you want to try to learn something, try to teach it. Because there's something about the engagement between a teacher and a student in a classroom, however that is constructed, that generates insights that you only get because you are trying to tell someone about the things that you know something about. That presentational knowledge generates knowledge that is only available because you are trying to teach or you're trying to tell. And that's one of the features of true storytelling. That's one of the connections between true storytelling and Fletcher's story science in the world of action research, is that the act of true storytelling creates a new reality every time you tell that story. So it was important for me to ask you about recording the session, because one of the the sales points of the workshop was that when we get into the true storytelling circle, my initial intention was to not record that, because when Tom and I, who have been in a true storytelling circle every week for the last 2 years on Saturday mornings, is our highest, for me, my highest priority thing in the world, except for coaching youth soccer. We absolutely don't record those, as part of the agreement that we are just going to tell the stories as best we can to trusted others. But if we want to transform the world, when we're done in a true storytelling circle, you want to somehow take that energy and the opportunity that was developed out into the world. And one of the things that may support that mission of transformative change is having access to the artifacts of the true stories that are being told, but then being brought out of the circle along with us. But that is an act of intention and permission and agreement before we would ever think of doing that. And so what I'm going to say about the 31-week course that we're about to enter, or longer, who knows, or shorter if you say this guy's nuts and we need to just, what ought to get into here, right? There are parts of the true storytelling exchange where we come in and we're going to talk about the insight that we had this week about the reflections upon the creativity lessons that I've offered. So I've built these lessons out where it has something from Fletcher, something from me, a couple reflection exercises for you to engage in, to think about the things Fletcher and I say, as applied to a work in progress that you're working on, so that, hey, I want to bring this creativity and apply it to something. So during the course of the week, as you think about all those things, whatever the best thing was that you want to share in a true story about your work in progress is something we want you to come to the weekly sessions like this to debrief, to share, to exchange in a true storytelling circle. And I'm prepared to either record those or not record them as we agree each and every session. And if someone has if you're in the sound of my voice out there and listening to this, if there is a true story that you want to tell that you do not feel comfortable recording, but which you feel comfortable sharing, then I'll pause the tape and not record that in order to respect our agreement, so that you can experience the telling of the true story, that the other people that are in that room can experience the sharing and the receiving of the gift of your true story, but not to leave the boundaries of that sacred circle. And we won't record those. But the other ones that we unanimously agree to share, we'll record, so that other people that maybe couldn't be at the meeting, or people in the future, as long as we have an intention that the things that we're sharing are our best efforts to tell our truth about our work that we feel safe and secure in sharing, and it's for the purpose of benefiting others, then the potential of doing good in the world is unbounded. It's unlimited because of the second and third order effects. The compounded return on public true stories cannot be calculated. It is just unbelievably powerful, and I can attest to this personally. It will just absolutely amaze you at what happens once you get used to telling the truth as best you can, and then listening to the truthful stories of others, and listening in such a way that, here's another agreement that we make, is that when you offer a true story about your work in progress, all we're going to do is listen as deeply as we can, without judgment, without processing, without advice, without recommendations, without trying to figure it out, without trying to tell you what to do or how to fix it or whatever. All we're going to do is sit there and listen to the truth being told and feel it deeply inside and let it bubble back up. And we're going to sit in silence for 20 seconds after each one of those, and I'm going to hit a gong so that the next person who wants to tell their story can tell their story. And after 2 or 3 sessions where you do that and you just listen to people's truths without judgment, you can't even believe how transformative that is for you as a person and for them, because you're going to say something that resonates so deeply with them, that gives them an aha moment that it's going to take them all week to think about. And so we don't want to hurry that process. We're not going to try to hurry up and understand what everything means. We're just going to get into the habit, and create a practice of coming here with the best story that we can tell, that we've been thinking about all week, and just share that for the purpose of sharing. We're going to fill our bowl with the goodness of that story, empty the bowl by telling the story as best we can, and in that empty space, receive the gift of other people's stories, to sit in the truth, to listen to what the truth sounds like, and just let it be what that is. In that mindful moment, that all it has to be is that moment. And when that sacred story circle is done and we hit the gong, we move into the foyer for coffee talk, and we talk about whatever we want to talk about. And when we leave that foyer and go out into the world, we go out into the world and take on our lives again and decide to do what we want to do with the opportunities that are now available to us that maybe we didn't see before. Or maybe we saw it but didn't believe in it. Or maybe we believed in it but didn't have the resources to do it, or didn't see a way to start. But maybe now we do because of something that happened. Who knows? Something else to explore. A new thing to add to our list of tasks that are going to be sorted into priorities, that are going to be turned into intentional action in the world. Well, here's what I've learned from 3 years of doing this 4 and 5 times a week, every week for 3 years during COVID. That there will come a time when you finally figure out exactly what you should be doing, what your purpose is, what your mission is, whatever that is. There will come a time when suddenly you get a moment of clarity to say, oh, now I get it. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And then within about a second, you're going to have a feeling probably of despair, regret, anxiety. And you say, God, if only I had known that 10 years earlier, I could have done so much more already. In an instant, I already see the ways I could have been better in support of that. And then you realize, well, there's not enough time for you to do all the things that you now feel you should do. But it turns out that there's just exactly enough time to live forward, to only work on the things that are the most important in pursuit of that, and to do it as best you can, and to sign your work, and to give back to the universe the job of assessing the value, of placing it into context, of making sense of it. Let the universe worry about what to do with what you just created and offered and shared as totally as you could. If you just work on the things that are the best things that you can do as best you can, all in, and then accountability by signing your name and say, that's my... And then imagine you could do that in groups of people that are also trying to intentionally transform the world so that the people may thrive by telling the truth and working together for the benefit of others. Imagine how empowering and scalable that is when you start everything that you do knowing that everybody is on your team and going to do their best to help you because you're doing your best to help them. If you could start every meeting, every transaction, every engagement in the world, everything that you do, building towards that, and you're used to hearing what the truth sounds like, and you become accustomed to telling the truth, you cannot believe how liberating that is and how powerful that is. And pretty soon, that's all you have time left to do. It's like you don't even have time to work on things that don't matter because you're greedy, because you want to feel that sense of joy that comes from doing your best work all the time with friends in your tribe. And in that way, that wave of change of goodness built on truth and true storytelling and all the creative energy that goes into that goes out, and the universe is going to respond to that, and that's the universe's job. Hey, universe, what are you going to do with all this truth that we're generating? Let me see. It turns out when you tell your true story and you empty your bowl, the universe is instantly giving you feedback because you've created this little moment of a vacuum of emptiness, and then the universe gives you feedback. It turns out that that's your job, is to engage in the breathing of life, of giving, pause, receiving, pause, reflecting, telling people about that. That's the intersection now of creativity and true storytelling. Now, what we're going to do in this workshop is explore those ideas in a systematic way, but in a relaxed, exciting way that allows these stories to go wherever they want to go, but punctuated by this weekly process of Fletcher's proven scientific method of increasing our creativity for whatever purpose it is that you want to apply it towards. Creativity is a muscle and a capacity to bring insights to anything that you're working on. And his method is world-class in provably increasing the creativity in whoever takes the simple method of exchanging stories. And the 30 lessons that I've contributed in each weekly lesson, there's a Fletcher short reading and some reflective learning, and then I posted some things that come from my trading practice and creativity practice. The best stuff of the last 30 years of me trying to learn to trade, to teach to trade, to build a community of practice, to help individual traders achieve breakthroughs. You know, the 30 best things that I could come up with that are digestible in little packets of goodness. So you're going to end up seeing a lot of ideas about trading that I think are not going to cause you any harm. They'll help you with your trading. They're also just going to help you with the experience of growing your creativity, so it has multiple purposes. So that's going to be the nature of each of these lessons, is that there's a Fletcher short exercise and a reflection. There's something I'm going to contribute that has uh, an experiential component, a reflection component. We want you to do both of those things each week whenever the time is right for you. Think about them through the lens of, I'm working on a thing that I want to get better at, and I want to use creativity so that I can do better on whatever that thing is. I don't care if it's trading or not. It's whatever you think is the most important thing that you want to work on to improve. Whatever that is, I trust you enough to know that you'll figure out what that is, or that you're figuring out what that is. And one of the ways that you figure out what that is that you try on different things at different times in your life and you explore. So maybe you want to explore some things or other things, whatever that may be. Good morning, Ken. So let me finish this thought. We're almost at a natural break point. We started about an hour ago, and the introduction is recorded, and it's going to ask you to consider allowing us to record pieces and parts or all of the sessions. So I'll ask you that too before we get started on the next phase. So what I want to say in conclusion then is that this workshop is going to feature these weekly periodic exercises to give us just enough structure to play in the space between, in the same way that a drummer establishes a certain rhythm, a metronome, but that the music occurs in between the beats. And so this is a workshop that gets created as we create it, but following a certain path that is relaxed but intentional. So that's what I wanted to say. So I appreciate your willingness to allow me to record this first session. And then what I would like to do then is invite you to introduce yourself briefly, and then we can I want to then spend time taking a look at the overview of the course, getting a preview of the next week's lessons, and show you, just for the record, the layout of the course in Rizuku, so we can follow along through that. So, with your permission, that's everything I wanted to say as my opening true story. My intention is never again to say that much without you guys talking, but at the start of the course it sort of felt appropriate to set that into context. So this is the part of when we come together on our Saturday morning and Monday afternoon and Wednesday evening sessions and other true story circles that I run. We always, we meet, we come with an intention, a story that we're going to tell about a topic that we'd been thinking about that week. And then before we go into the true story circle, we just kind of check in and we give about a 30-second where we are, how we're doing, how it feels, what's going on, the social graces, coffee talk in the foyer. And after we've checked in, then we strike a gong and we enter the sacred story space, and then we tell our true stories in silent appreciation of each other's gift. And again, in those sessions, we sit in silence for 20 seconds after the true story. And when we're done, hit the gong and we move out, and then we talk about whatever we want to talk about. But we let those stories breathe for that moment. So that's where we are right now. Is I want to just go through an example of that checking in, and plus this gives us a chance to meet each other for the first time in some ways. So I'll get us started with your permission. Ken Long, I'm in Kansas, where we survived the tornado last night, and we're just going to move on with the rest of our life and go watch some soccer this afternoon. My daughter just got back from a week-long adventure in Mexico, at a destination wedding, so I'm going to listen to all her stories. I'm just glad she's home safe. And everything's good in the world here. And so I'm going to say aho, which is with respect to Native Americans, the word they use to say as it should be to signify the end of my little speech. I formally stop it there by saying aho, and I'm going to invite my good friend Tom Hardison to check in and say, how you doing, Tom? What's up?
Well, I'm here in Santa Paula, California, outside of town, visiting my parents. So I'll give you a brief tour because it pertains to my background. Just looking outside, this is the orchards that I grew up in, working for my grandparents, avocados and lemons. And my parents are still living here. And so it's a joy to be down here visiting them. I normally live in Boise, Idaho, and I'm really excited for this opportunity to learn with each of you about creativity and learn from your experiences and wisdom and application. So, aho.
Excellent. I should also say, yeah, at any time in any of the sessions that when we're recording, if there's something you want to not record, just let me know and I will stop the recording for those. So that's one of the agreements that we will always have, is that at any time you can take it not for attribution, and that we will respect that. Okay. I'm going to go in the order in which I see you on my big screen. So, Jack Kingston, good morning. It's nice to meet you face
Morning.
to face.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. It's the first time meeting all of you. I'm a 20-year-old university student from Ireland. I I've been trading now for about 5 years, I'd say. So I've been since I was really little, but I've only properly kind of gotten into it the past kind of 3 years. And yeah, I'm interested in football, soccer to the Americans.
Yeah.
I go to the gym a lot, and yeah, I trade a lot, read a lot, and yeah, that's probably it.
Who's your team?
Liverpool, Liverpool.
There you go. What a heartbreaker, but that's all part of the process, you know.
Exactly,
Uh,
exactly. We'll go
and
again next.
I love Jurgen Klopp above all others.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I love that team.
I agree,
So
I agree.
really nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Uh,
you.
Chun Long, I see
Hi.
you. Good
Yeah, good
morning.
morning. Morning. My name is Chen Longli. I'm a Chinese immigrant, live in Alberta, Canada, with my wife and my son. I've been here for 20 years. I was a civil structure engineer. I was a design engineer, basically worked for the energy sectors for my whole career. Couple of years ago, I started to trading. Didn't have success, so I joined One Stop Super Trader program. That's 3 years program since 2018. So I finished the 3 years program in 3 years. Start to trading some momentum stock. There's a swing trading or position trading. Probably because of me or because the market type. All my system haven't worked since last year summer. Get in, then stop out, or get the signal to get out. So it's a really tough period for maybe 10 months or 12 months. Really try to figure out how to improve my trading. Actually, when I with the VTI for the Super Trader program, I watched Ken's swing trading workshop, this online trading courses. So I saw this offering. I thought, there's some way creative way in me or in the system, I have to find either change myself or change the system so I can treat the system with a profit. That's my intention or my objectives to attend this workshop. I really like the workshop spread 30 weeks so I can digest over the past 3 weeks. I watch some video can offer is really great. I'm even thinking we learn some techniques or system can teach. I really interested in the sniper trading, the simple setups and all those stuffs. I don't know what the outcome will be. So my goal is find out either myself fit a system or find a system fit me. That's it.
Aho. Yeah, it's funny, the sniper trading system, that strategy, emerged from doing this course. It's and so part of me says, well, what I should stop Creativity 202 and convert it just into sniper trading and get, but then that's one step. But what about all the other things that could emerge? So I'm figuring out how to do both of those. My intention is to use the sniper trading as my work in progress, so that when I come to the weekly sessions, the true stories that I'm telling are going to be about my work in progress about sniper trading. Now, I need to do that anyway, so I'm doing it for a very selfish reason, in order to create all of the lessons and the chunks and to gain the insights. And I know that if I have a weekly discipline that requires me to do something each week on it, then I'm going to make progress because of my sense of duty to you guys in the creativity course. So there is a creative tension between the project that you're working on, your own personal work in progress, and the generic exercises that you're doing for fitness to improve creativity in all things. Well, there's a connection. We're creating more creativity, if I can say it that way. We're increasing our creativity in order to be able to do more things. And we also want to do more things. So there's that. As a craftsman, there are times in which you immerse yourself in the task, and the joy of doing that thing, the creative moment, is its own reward. And then there are times when you step back out of that to look at your own work from different angles, and it makes you think of other things. And sometimes when you're working on other things, you get insights. They say, oh, I can connect that to my work in progress. Because when you have a really powerful and an important work in progress, you're always working on it. You're thinking about it. You're dreaming about it. It's in your subconscious cooking. Maybe it's in the back of your mind, and you just need to shift into something else for a moment of peace. And then you get an idea that now unlocks something new about your work in progress. So as we go through the course, it's important to remember that dynamic tension between who we are in a large sense and then the specific things that we're working on, and realize that these are connected in many ways. Storytelling turns out to be a transmission network between these different parts of ourself. It's the thing that unifies. We start telling a story about one thing and you get an insight about something else. So the story becomes the connection between events, between words, between people, across time, and it creates meaning that's powerful for us. which is why I'm excited about this course. So my promise to you, since we're all interested in trading, is that I'm going to be working on the sniper trading strategy and systems and patterns every week. That's going to be my work in progress till we're done with this thing. Because, among other things, the reason we all know each other is that we have a common interest in trading, and so we would like to be able to get better at that while we're becoming more creative. So that's my promise to you, is that's the thing that I'm going to be working on. So what I would like, to look forward to next week already, week 1. Next week this time is when I would invite you to be ready to share the work in progress. You may already know it, but what we'll do on week 1 is sort of just announce that formally. Hey, here's what I'm working on, why it's important, what my outcomes might be. So it gives you a chance to reflect on your particular craft work. Hey, I'm going to be working on carving a bowl for the next 10 weeks. So everybody in shop class knows that that's the project that I'm working on. It's a woodworking class, but I'm working on a bowl, and I'm going to use that bowl for something, so I have an intention about it. And so my work partners in the workshop know that, and they can, they're there to share that experience. So I'm going to ask you about, for the week ahead, when we get into the actual lesson number 1, to be able to talk about that work in progress. And now that could change as we go through the course. I trust you enough to know that you can decide what it is that you want to work on. I 100% agree with you that whatever you decide is the correct decision. So I trust you enough that that whatever you decide to work on is going to be good. All right. Now I'm going to mispronounce your name, not by intention, but just because. I'm going to try Kunwei.
Very good.
Kunya.
Kion. The first one is Kion.
Yeah.
Ngui, you better off just like dropping the G, and it'll be pretty close.
No.
It's Ngui, but it's yeah. So yeah, thanks, Ken. And good.
Kyun Nui.
Ngui, yeah, brilliant.
Kyun Nui.
You got it.
Kyun Nui. I got to say 3 times. So let me just say, you didn't miss anything in the first hour that you can't make up by listening to the recording at 1.5 times the speed. You'll get the same information in less time, so that's probably a good strategy. But yeah, welcome aboard.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, my name is Kion Ngui, and I'm based in London, in UK. I'm originally from Malaysia, with my ethnicity is actually Chinese. So yeah, I've been here a long time. What do I want to say? So in terms of trading, so I think I started maybe 2 years ago. Well, I've been dabbling for years, like just stock picking and that kind of thing. But in 2020, I decided that I wanted to get serious about it. And through one thing or another, I found Van Thought Institute. So took a few courses, and then took the Super Trader Foundation, which I just finished in April. Yeah, and then I saw this course, and I actually don't know if I've bitten off more than I can chew. So we'll see, but because you gave us a lot of templates and stuff, yeah. and it was I just thought, wow, that's quite a lot of new processes I have to put in place. But we will see. I'll just park that and see how it goes. Yeah. I used to be more interested in football. My team is Manchester United, but they're really bad. So
that's my other team, and I'm suffering along with you. And that's only fair because we enjoyed a good long run, and
Yes,
you have to
exactly.
take the night along with the day.
I'm
Okay.
enjoying the supper.
Sorry.
I'm
Oh yeah,
enjoying
I'm
the
sure.
suffering.
I'm sure, Jack. And actually, quite. I mean, I like Klopp. I think I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, rivalry and all, and it's been really, really tough for rivals. But then you just gotta get used to it and put it aside. I think Klopp is a great manager. And my
Yeah.
wife is Egyptian, so she loves
Salah.
Salah,
Yeah.
Salah.
right? So, so we have a lot of, well, it's not even a rivalry this last season because
Yeah.
United
Yeah. We can all agree that
were so
Pep
Yeah.
poor.
Guardiola and the
No, it's just so
hated City
yeah.
and the
Well, there you
continuous
are. I
train
mean,
wreck that is
Yeah.
Tottenham.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think Conte has done really well. He's a good manager, I
I
think.
love Conte.
Mm.
Yeah. And we'll see. So I've had to learn to live with, admire. I admire Guardiola, but he went to our rival. So you have
Yeah.
to take the heart out of this and just kind of enjoy the football because these are two
Well,
great
I
managers.
think, the world is better when all of those teams are good. And
Yeah,
they would agree. They all want to be
Yeah.
pushed to their limit by playing against the best possible opponent in order to raise their own game. They sort of know that. So Pep, I love Pep because he defeats Mourinho, and his style of tiki taka with a purpose is how I
yeah,
teach my kids to play. So we
yeah.
teach,
He has
and
changed
he,
football. I mean, all the
yeah,
teams my
yeah,
son plays as well, and they're all
yeah,
teaching them possession type football
yeah,
now,
yeah.
or soccer,
Yeah.
it's just yes, changed football.
Well,
Anyway, so
starting tomorrow morning, my real work in progress is the an 8-week summer camp for all the kids. It's a free camp for everybody in our town, from 8 to 10 every morning. Just show up and play. And I've
yeah,
recruited some of my old college players to come back to help. So everybody that just shows up every morning, we're going to play soccer in the Barcelona way, and lots of tiki taka, lots of small sided keepaways,
yeah,
and so
great.
I I have a 8 week. We just graduated our military officers on Friday, so and I have, because of COVID, I never took any vacation, so I have 400 hours of vacation that are use or lose. If I don't use them, I lose them. I can't even sell it. So I finally just said, okay, I'm going to take 4 hours every morning and start burning off this leave, and I'm going to run my soccer camp. And so that starts tomorrow morning. That'll be a lot of fun. Well, here's what I want to say about those templates. There is a certain efficiency to using established templates to learn. It allows you to drop knowledge into certain packages, and you proceed through the process. Taken to the extreme, it may actually defeat the purpose of creativity in a sense, which is to be as open to the moment as possible. So I was mindful of that when I was looking to provide templates or not. And I decided, yes, I will, because if you look at those templates and try to conform to them or use them, as you learn to adapt them to yourself, you actually have a creative moment. So
Mhm.
it turns out in the long run that collection of templates is a very useful way to manage the development of individuals and teams that are engaged in a long-term manufacturing process, if I can say it that way. Whether you are an army organization that is trying to manufacture trained and ready units and soldiers to perform their mission, or you're trying to create a production line to make parts that are built to tight tolerances that can run the world, or whether you're developing a student teacher mentor mentee relationship with people that you're trying to develop or that you're trying to manage. So it turns out that those little forms are useful ways to think about the long-term process of acquiring craft knowledge. As I've got about 40 years of experience in statistical process control, adult learning theory, teaching, learning technologies, and all that. And it turns out that those templates are things that I use in my soccer academy in some forms, with my military officers, in my own trading practice and when I'm coaching individual traders, and in the when I'm teaching grad students in management and adult education. I teach in a couple doctoral programs to keep my brain sharp. And it turns out that that set of templates is almost universally helpful for most people in some ways. Maybe not everybody uses all of them. Maybe some people use some of them. But there's something about that collection of templates that is worth some study to try it on for size. And then I'll just trust you to be open to your own learning experience. I think the single most important thing in there is the reflective learning journal that you write to yourself that captures in any way that you find useful the weekly so what of it all, kind of the weekly reflection. The pulse of this course is really intended to be a standard work week. I have found over time that the weekly process is frequent enough that you maintain momentum and you have a flywheel effect, that you get that momentum going and you keep working it. So there is a certain power and comfort in the weekly discipline. Now, that's true in trading. The weekend report that I do that pulls together all the maniac events of the daily trades, the opportunity to step back and look at monthly charts, weekly charts, daily charts, hourly charts, look at market conditions, look at broad themes that are unfolding, synthesizing and integrating the lessons learned from that week's of trades, to look at the trade charts of others and to provide coaching, and then to publish the weekend reports, and then look at Ken Hum's longer-term swing trade patterns and think about the market. It turns out that weekly reflective exercise sets the conditions as a baseline for the whole week in which I'm doing daily trades. But I'm doing daily trades inside that larger flow of the current of the river. I really do think of it as a river. What is the river doing? What does the river feel like? What is the dragon doing as it swims through that river? Because that behavior, those conditions, really shape most of what's happening on the daily task. Right now, like the last 2 days, like last week, was a perfect example of it. It started Monday, poised on a knife edge, in a bearish normal condition that had put a small recovery move in, and was poised, and it could go up large. That would be easily understood. Oh, the bottom was in, and this is momentum, and guys are buying on a dip, and this is the beginning of a return to the normal at the top. That's one narrative. It also supports, well, this was just enough of a recovery to be a dead cat bounce to attract the short sellers to come in and smash this thing short now that they get a slightly better entry price because of the recovery. And in that scenario, in that story, the most important theme is the fact that, oh, it's off 18% and the world is falling apart, and we have a senile old man as the most powerful man in the world, and war is raging, and the energy reconfiguration of the world is changing the global economy in profound ways that we're just beginning to understand, and we certainly haven't resolved. So there's more volatility coming, and this thing could get smashed. And at any time, COVID could morph and introduce more uncertainty. Well, if that's the dominant narrative, you could make the case is why there could be a big sell-off. And you could also say, well, maybe the uncertainty about which one of those dominant narratives, maybe there's so much tension that what we're going to get is just sideways monkeying around, the absence of a directional trend. So all three of those stories, it's almost like three different scriptwriters go to Hollywood and say, hey, we have a proposal for a movie, and which one are you buying? And then as a result of where they buy or sell, then that's what the market unfolds. Well, the first 3 days of the week were sideways quiet channel forming, where it was volatility was compressing. There was no strong follow through, but there was no strong rejection, and it was just idling as it was trying to sort out what it would be. And then Thursday and Friday, it was a decisive move downward, back to the lows of the previous sell-off, just in time for people to worry about that over a weekend. And so I expect fireworks at the open tomorrow morning because of those reasons. Well, all three of those potentials were apparent last week during the market recap and the review. And so we prepared trading plans that would account for each of those three different scenarios. And because all three of them were real possibilities, the way you conduct your trading as price unfolds and you discover which one is dominant, that is going to shape the way you decide to trade. For me, it was no overnight risk, emphasize the intraday, be ready to go large in either direction, but really identify the ones that are ready to collapse with Godzilla, the sniper pattern. Because if that one comes true, it is a massive move, and I want to be available for the massive move. I can handle the upside breakouts. I know how to trade those. But those are not likely to be huge. And so Thursday and Friday was amazing. Downward moves and no overnight risk, as I briefed with last night's channel. So this weekly pulse is key. And so if you only adopt one of those templates, the idea is the weekly journal where you kind of talk to yourself to capture the things that you thought about each day during the week with the Fletcher exercises, my exercises, and just be as detailed on that as you feel you need to be. And I trust you to choose that. You can add those other things as we go based on how it feels. So those are descriptive, not proscriptive. It's really a journal of self-discovery, a journey of self-discovery as we go through these lessons. And that's going to be part of the cutting edge nature of this workshop is to find that creative bubble and document your process and document your insights as you go, because what you'll end up seeing is that you get so many insights and possibilities for follow-up that you want a way to document those so that you get to them when it's time. What you don't want to do is spend 20 weeks thinking about things and then 20 weeks from now you forgot the things from week one. That was the most frustrating experience that I had as a instructor for THARP, was that we would do as 30 hours of a weekend work, or whatever it was, 25 hours of a weekend workshop, and I would try to tell everybody everything that I knew, and everybody was excited. And then 3 months later, no change. Absolutely frustrating. So I started doing these kind of hybrid workshops where I would put the lessons in there and let people just get to them when they would get to them and do these periodic check-ins. And then COVID really kind of forced us to do that anyway. And it turned out to be a much better way to teach my material. And because of COVID, I started doing, well, let me just try on a nightly podcast just to connect to people who were already feeling isolated by COVID. They had been cut off from family, friends, work, society. And, well, this was one way to establish and maintain that outreach. And then that became unexpected. I'm still doing those 3 years later. And I have over 600 episodes of those nightly podcasts. And now we're going back through and trying to mine all the gold out of that. So I got interns doing that work. Because there's a lot of good things come out of that. Things that you only even hear the second or third time. So the recording of these sessions is my recommendation is that we record all of them or as much as you feel comfortable recording, and I will respect that. You don't have to worry about not being. If you say I don't want to record this, I won't record it when it's your turn to tell your stories. But what you'll discover is that coming back and revisiting your notes and the videos is going to be a profound source of insights later on. So I offer those templates as a way. There's some reasons to use them or parts of them. And I'll just trust you to find your own way through that. And again, I also promise that the sniper trading is going to do you no harm. Just so that you know, with full disclosure, my brother, Bill, who's in the nightly podcasts, which you are invited to, by the way, to attend, and Jack is starting to do that too. He just retired as a hospice nurse, an emergency room nurse, and in hospice you're working with folks in the last chapter of their life. So he's accustomed to stress and tough talk, and so he's changed his career at age 55 to become a full-time trader. Now, I've been working with him for 30 years on trading, and he has skills as an intuitive pattern trader that has created an opportunity for him to share what he knows with a very wide audience. One of his real estate partners, he flips houses for a living too. He likes working with his hands. That's way too much work. I don't even do that for my own house. I'm not going to do it for somebody else. But he's got a team of guys and they flip houses, and he has a partner that helps him find good properties. Well, his partner is a commercial real estate guy. And he's married to a woman who does business coaching and marketing for real estate investors and small business people. And they think that they want to learn something about trading, and they do. So she got introduced to my brother through her husband, and she said, wow, why don't you make a presentation about how you trade to my 200,000 followers who are all small business people with money to spend and invest, and some of them want to learn to trade. So he did an hour-long podcast to their people, which turned into a 4-hour podcast, which caused him to be flown out to Las Vegas to their workshop in person. And then he called me in to make a presentation, which became a 4-hour, which has turned into a line of business for him. And I can't take all of those folks through the details of what we know to be professional grade trading. I need to be able to give them something that in a couple hours will cause no harm and may actually discover who is really an intuitive trader. So the sniper trading course came about as a result of a creative moment to say, what is the minimum essential information we can teach them about low risk trading, which to me is intraday low risk trading, because you can risk the smallest amount, and in a matter of minutes you find out if it's going to work. And if it works, it can work really, really large. And if it doesn't work, you find out right away. And you get hundreds of opportunities a day to do that. And those opportunities are happening all day. So all you have to do is be flat. And when you want to trade, you quickly dial in, see where the fish are biting, go to the fish, drop your line, and pull fish out of the market. Or act like a sniper. So we're exploring that as a way to provide low-risk trading ideas for non-professional traders, but who could adopt professional trading practices. So that's the background of sniper trading, and that's the work in progress that I'm going to be sharing as we go through the weeklies. And that's what you see me doing every night at the start of the Nightly Strategy podcast, as I review a half a dozen sniper trades of the day in order to demonstrate the process, the patterns, the mindset, the psychology of that style of trading. In that style of trading, you have to be a bull maker. Don't cut off your own fingers. Make the standard bull all the time, or make the standard brick. Don't believe in the trade. Just perform the trade. Just make the brick. If it doesn't look right, set it aside, move to the next one, and the law of large numbers will tip in your favor with no overnight risk. That's the essence of sniper trading. So you'll see me, as we go through this, developing some of those ideas, and there may be other things that occur that are also good as a result of that, but sniper trading was not even a thing 2 months ago. And now it's kind of my go-to, simple, easiest way to do it. It rests on a 40-year foundation of trading, but it's taken me that long to simplify and to feel confident enough in the material that I can share it with others without causing harm. Because my great fear is to have people trade in a certain way that puts them at risk, that they don't understand the danger of trading as well. That they just, I'm going to happily just do a 10 to. Well, I live in mortal fear of doing that to somebody else. So I'm very reluctant. I almost have to be dragged into sharing things that I know or that I've seen. So I'm trying to learn to relax a little more, to trust other people's judgment a little more. So the whole idea of why do we believe in a certain thing, why do we think that pattern works, the evidence-based decision-making is central to my thought process about trading, about everything else. Why do we believe this thing is true? Do I have to have a belief in it in order to trade it? Or can I trade it, gather the results, and then use the evidence of my own trading as a way to begin to increase my levels of trust to a level that is supported by evidence, and to own the responsibility for making the judgment for myself, and to have the tools to be able to adapt the rules to my own use. That is my goal, is to make my trading, my education obsolete, is to give people the toolkit in which they can take on the idea, adapt it to themselves, and grow. And you see, I already see Jack taking those kinds of steps. But if you watch the nightly podcast, I want you to pay absolute attention to two guys in there. Three guys. Luke Crockford every night on the 5-Minute Aussie. I will tell you, 2 years ago, he had zero experience in trading. Zero. He's a CPA in Australia, runs his own business, has 7 kids. Zero experience with trading. And simply by going through the process of nightly trading, posting, coaching, reflecting, improving, 2 years later, he's got 2,300 trades documented of daily trades. And he's got about a 60% win rate, a 20% loss rate, 20% scratch. And when I say scratch, he gets all his money back. So he's got a 3-to-1 win rate. And his average win to average loss varies between 2-to-1 and 4-to-1, depending on the cycle. Well, you want to trade that system forever. And he built that out of trading a single symbol every day with the simple sniper patterns and learning from it, and then adapting the rules to his own, and then trading it at a level of so Van Tharp and I had a difference of opinion on how to create skill in traders. and I love that guy and respect his point of view, and I see the truth in it. It was his position that the psychological lessons that you have to learn to be a trader that survives require you to fundamentally alter the wiring of your brain so that you don't become a victim to the herd mentality. And that the only way to do that was to step out of trading altogether and completely rewire everything about your brain, and then slowly take on the skills of trading. A 2 to 3 to 5 year process. I've seen so many people succeed with that I know that has real power. In the same way that people quit their day job, go to a dojo, whatever, and they completely change. But I also know that you can acquire skill in trading by trading and learning from the trade in a deliberate learning process, in the same way that for 40 years as a craftsman, I can go to the wood shop or the machine shop and make bowls and learn by doing and pay attention to what I'm doing and extract the lessons learned from that as part of a growing body of knowledge. There's room for both of those positions on our pathway to personal trading mastery. I believe in data and evidence and personal ownership and provisional knowledge, because I respect the market as a dynamic, chaotic, unconscious integration of all these actors and agents that are out there trying to achieve their financial objectives. And I've seen enough discontinuous, nonlinear behavior that every rule has its exception, which will kill you if you don't know it. So if you have an unbounded belief in the rules because of some amount of backtesting, then you're just waiting to be killed. It's just a fact. So no matter how much evidence that I gather in support of a trade or a system or a strategy, there is some limit of confidence about it that I will not exceed. I am much more worried about the tigers that I haven't detected. So I think I'm out there hunting tigers? No. Tigers are hunting you. You should study tigers, the apex predators, and how they behave. And lions, apex predator. They behave, two big cats, they work in completely different ways, and they're both out there. And the tigers and lions and bears, if I can borrow a phrase from Wizard of Oz, lions and tigers and bears. I may be the only guy in here that knows that reference, but yeah. The lions and tigers and bears in nature are far less dangerous than the predators that are lurking in the trading markets. That's my own point of view. And when I would share that with Van, he would say, well, Ken, that's just a belief. I said, yeah, I know that, man. I know that that's just a belief. But I want you, just the final lesson I want to say for today, because we're 90 minutes into this. Think about the difference in meaning between these two sentences. You're going to see this as one of the lessons somewhere in the course. Ken, that's just a belief. And compare that to the sentence, Ken, that's a belief. There is a world of difference between those two simple sentences. When I say that's just a belief, I'm entitled to think that beliefs are irrelevant and trivial and don't matter because it's something I can describe. Oh, that's just a belief. It's not even important. If I say that is a belief, that's a statement of provisional fact or provisional truth about that thing that has a certain amount of power because it's a belief. Well, what are the powers of beliefs? Discuss. If I say that's just a belief, I'm already minimizing its importance or its power in the world. That's like saying, hey, that's just a tiger. A tiger can't even use tools. It's just a tiger. I don't know if you've ever seen a tiger or a bear. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of camping someday along a stream in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and hear a little splash and look up and see a black bear 20 feet away. That'll change your mind about, well, that's just a bear. You would never say that. If you've seen a bear under those conditions, you would never ever again say, well, that's just a bear. That is a bear. And it's one of the nice ones, quiet ones, least harmful, but that thing is a bear. So, here's what I want to say just sort of in conclusion in order to respect your time. I will get this processed. I'm going to take the recordings that I do of each of these, and I'm going to put them into a special lesson in Rizuku right at the top. And so there will be the recording from the Sunday morning workshop or session, and then the Monday night session I'm going to do at 7 o'clock. Now, those are going to be constrained to an hour because I have to be ready at 8:30. So that was a deliberately chosen time to force me to respect the discipline of the hour. And so I'll never have to say all that stuff I said at the start of this one again. But I would recommend you listen to it, Kim. So I will have a lesson where we just accumulate those videos as lessons, and I would say, consider listening to them if you weren't there. The real work is done in doing the Fletcher exercise each week, doing my exercise each week, thinking about how it applies to your work in progress, doing the journaling, and then I strongly recommend you come to these sessions with a 2-minute story of an aha moment ready to share. We're going to check in, get right to it. You're going to tell the truth. We're going to listen to the truth. We're going to bang the gong and sit in silence after each one of those with no processing. And then and only then are we going to gently move into the after party, the coffee talk, and fill up the hour with discussions about what are going on. But we're going to preserve the sacredness of those stories. And so if there's ever a story in there that you want to not be recorded, we all respect that because we understand that. And we won't record it if you want us to stop the tape. But if it's okay, then we'll share it for others. So I trust your judgment, and we're not going to judge you about that. We're going to take this as a trusted, safe, public space to tell our truth as we feel comfortable in revealing it to the world. And you will kind of feel how that goes as we go. But I want to just emphasize that at the start, how important that agreement is and the power that is contained in telling the truth in those stories. That's what that first hour was about, Kim. So before I sign off, do you guys have any questions about how to access that material in Rizuku? The Resiliency course and the Creativity 101 course was, I live in desperate fear of wasting people's time. And so I wanted to have, those two are courses that I teach to Army officers for years. That is good top-level stuff, and it'll do you no harm. This one is genuine creativity, and I'm exploring the world with, hey, let me tell you how powerful Fletcher's creativity stuff is. 10 months ago, I didn't even know the guy. 10 months later, we are incorporating his material in professional military education across the Army. He is scheduled to brief the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the senior military officer in the America's Department of Defense, because of the power of that creativity to unleash improved problem solving among all our leaders. To go from 0 to that in 10 months, the only reason he gets to do that is because he met me and I know how to manipulate that system so that he gets to talk to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He and I talked to the equivalent of Denmark's FBI, the director of their FBI. He and I had a 2-hour brainstorming session just to tell that guy what we know about creativity and transformational change. So this stuff that we're about to go through with Fletcher and Boji, I'm the only guy in the world that knows both of those guys and has worked with them in detail. And I'm also the only guy that knows those two guys that has spent 35 or 40 years trading and teaching traders to trade professionally. So false pride is a sin. Too much pride is a sin. So I want you to know that I take this thing absolutely seriously, and the potential for what we're about to do is off the chart. And the fact that it already came up with the sniper trading is already my reward for going through the ass pain, if I can say it that way, of trying to put this together. And I want to respect the risk that you guys are taking by investing in this effort. And that was part of the reason for the resiliency and the creativity, is to give you that no matter what. Now, you're going to have access to those courses and all my material and the recordings of this course forever. I just don't believe in time. Oh, we're going to put a time sensitive and hurry. I don't believe in that at all. This is an open-ended way to change the world for the good, and I fully expect that we're going to learn things that are going to benefit other people that have not taken this course. And that's how we feed it forward. When you know that you're doing good in the world, you are now free to do your best work on the most important stuff and offer it to the universe. And that's what we're going to experience. So I wanted to say all that. So now, you can come to both sessions if you want. If you want to also come on the Monday, you can do that. But, that's a lot of me talking. Less me in the future, more you. But you may find you want to do that. Absolutely, you can. And you can come to these weekly check-ins as often or as little as you need to. I respect and trust that. But you also can listen in on the nightly strategy podcast and the weekend podcast, and just so this is open-ended to the world. What I hope is that the things that we learn and the after-action review that we do may be useful to other people to persuade them to just try it on for size and see what happens. So that's my promise to you, is to respect your time and your effort and the agreements that we make about this. So I'll be posting this in Rizuku in that course. And as far as the Creativity 101 and Resilience 101, if you're out there and you haven't started, they're not prerequisites. They're just things that I trust you that if you feel like you want to look at them, you can scan it pretty quick. Some guys have already done it and really loved it. So there's goodness in there that will keep. There's no hurry on that. There's nothing that's in there that is mandatory in order to take 202. 202 is a standalone course, but I just wanted you to have value for money. And so even if you opt out and get your money back, I trust your judgment on that. Doesn't bother me at all. And keep those courses, with my thanks for giving this a try so far. And all I do is I give everything that I have away, and whatever sticks and people find value in, I just say that's what's supposed to happen. So no judgment, no precondition. I'm 65. I don't give a shit. Where I want to learn things and do good. So that's the nature of it. So So at the end of every session, we'll just kind of check out and just say, hey, here's what I got going next. So we're going to watch our local soccer team, who's not very good this year, bottom of the table, and we've been competitive for 10 years, won trophies. It's that time. We're in the Man United cycle of life. Yeah. But we got great guys. We got Johnny Russell from Scotland, our captain. and he's a street fighter, and we love that guy because of how hard he plays. We're about a. If we were in England, this would probably be a. They would be bottom of the table in D1, or top. I mean, so we're professional, but it's we are who we are, and we play hard. So we're gonna go enjoy that as a family, and then enjoy the rest of the day. So that's my checkout. Jack, over to you for a checkout.
Yeah, I'm gonna get off the screens now and go to the gym. I set up a home gym outside for when I'm home from college, so it's good to kind of get out in the fresh air and stuff, And then I'm gonna come in and watch the weekend podcast, the one from Friday, I think. They're just kind of getting me ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, the Friday night was very good. It's the review of the charts and the day. The Saturday one was a short one because it was just Ken Hum posted about 5 or 6 charts. And I want you to see how he used his 3 time frames, and he smashed all of those things that were selling off for those 2 days and cut it and had no overnight risk. What a beautiful way to go into a weekend, completely relaxed, with 25R in hand and perfect setups ready to go in either direction. So you'll get the essence of that in about 20 minutes. That's the entire hybrid trading workshop course in 20 minutes. I mean, if I'm being honest, that's all it is. But it takes a whole workshop for people to start trying to believe. But the seed of that whole workshop and our style and sniper trading is in those 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So those nightly podcasts are the workshop because they are a film of the work in the workshop. That's I say that to everybody and nobody believes me until they just live it for a while. Say, oh yeah.
Are they on YouTube? How do I get to these podcasts?
I'm gonna here's what I want you to do. I'm gonna send you guys a link to Patreon. Okay. Patreon.com is how I distribute the daily reports and have all the archives.
Okay.
Now, Patreon does not allow me to have you pay $0. I have to charge $25 a month for that unlimited distribution and unlimited storage. That's the best $25 you ever spent in your life. It has the archives have every recorded podcast from March 2020 all the way through. Has the last 10 years of daily reports and weekend reports and all the daily just do that. I have to open up the you'll see it as the dojo level, so it's $25 a month. I normally charge either $100 or $200 or $300, but the $25 dojo that I'm opening up for you is going to give you access to all that stuff. So what I will tell you is do that, stay in the dojo as long as you wish, and if your conscience demands that you subscribe at the higher levels, okay, whatever, I don't care. Jack, our deal is still the deal. I gave Jack an even specialer deal because he's young.
Yeah.
So just
Thanks.
do
I appreciate it.
Don't change that. But
No.
But Ken, what I want you to do is go just sign up for that at $25. I even find myself apologizing for charging you $25. It's like, oh, that's how he gets me. He's a scam. He wants that, So that's on my mind too. But here's the other thing that I found: when I give stuff away, people don't use it. They don't. If they have skin in the game, they will use it. So I charge them, and all I do is I take that money and put it into the soccer academy so that I can all my players and my assistant coaches. So that's what your money's going towards. From all my Patreon money goes to support the soccer club.
You mean you send out to everybody, right?
Yeah. I'll send it.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
Thanks. So I'll miss that.
Yeah. So that'll happen next. But yeah, listen to Friday night and Saturday night. And then later tonight, I'm doing on the same link. I'll do the Sunday. There's probably not going to be a lot because there were not any charts posted in there. I may say something tonight. I usually do. but it'll be a short, and then that gets posted in the archive on Patreon. That's the distribution channel. Many of them are already on YouTube for free, but really, in order to respect people's investment in the membership, I put 90% of them I keep it at an unpublished link, but you can see it, you can access it from Patreon. So they're hosted on YouTube in a private area, and the link to it is in Patreon behind the paywall there. So that'll happen next. So I want to say thanks, guys, and appreciate your effort. I owe you an email to go to the Patreon site, and then I'll open up the dojo tier for everybody in the sound of my voice. Same deal for all you guys too. Tonight at 8 o'clock Central for the podcast. Tomorrow night 7 o'clock for the U.S. zone doing this. It's going to be the same material. And then 8:30 is the nightly podcast for Monday night. And then the next time I would see you is Sunday morning, next Sunday, and you have completed lesson 1 in the foundations, or in the Creativity 202 course. Okay. I put a running list of some other things that have come out of Creativity 202. Just good ideas that it was too good not to share. Just so you may find those of interest as we go along too. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Oh,
we do.
Yeah, Kyun, give me your checkout. Yeah, give me your checkout, Kyun.
I just gotta go turn off the oven. There's a chicken in it, and and I got my oldest son's gone on a trip. He'll be back this evening, so kind of that's me, family time now.
Great. Great.
All right. Sorry, Jack, you had a question.
Yeah, Chun Long.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm interrupted.
Chun Long, go ahead. Your checkout.
Yeah, normally I do gardening every day and study the past recording, especially the workshop I attended a couple of years ago. So my start of learning is review. I don't take notes, so those emulate I wanted, but will be hard for me.
Yeah. Well, I get the interns taking notes for us, and they're providing note sheets. So the other thing I would just say is, one of the really powerful ideas is the idea of accountability groups or partnering groups. And I think maybe, Jack, that's what you're going to say to Kyun here in a minute. You guys may see Jeff and Sonal from the UK, long-term friends and partners who were interested in this course too but couldn't make it today. So I strongly encourage you to, on your own, hey, just do a Zoom, get together, talk about how things are going. You'll find that to be a really helpful, relaxed way to gain even more insights. It has a momentum all of its own. So I'd encourage you to look at that too. Anyway, that's everything I got for you. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to leave this open. So if you guys need to, Jack, you and Kyun wanted to talk, you can do that. I'm going to make you.
Perfect.
I am going to stop the recording.